welcome to the Here For It live program. We're bringing it back. It's 2022. We got lots of things and information that we want to share with all of you, so I'm happy you're tuning in. Today, I am here with this amazing team at Ryze, and here with Sybil and Lindsay Connors. And I just have to say, before Sybil goes ahead and introduces herself, that, Lindsay and I met years and years ago when I was fairly new to the area. I had just bought an old carriage house downtown Saratoga Springs, and I didn't really know what I was doing or what I was getting myself into, having to navigate the city of Saratoga Springs and the building department. And she was just a light at the end of the tunnel down that hallway. And so I'm just happy to hear now that you are with this amazing organization, and correct me if I'm wrong, has been around for about 40 years. And I unfortunately have just learned about the organization. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring the two of you on here today to talk a bit more about it, because I think it's amazing what the work that you're doing, and you're a different level of service than like the shelter. So Sybil, why don't you take it away, introduce yourself, and tell us more about Ryze.
Hi, so thank you so much for having us on today. Really appreciate it. And Catherine and I just met 5 minutes ago, so we had a quick little intro, which was really nice. I'm the executive director of Ryze Housing and Support Services. I've been the executive director for about 5 years now, and I absolutely love the agency that I work for. I actually started my career at Ryze about 18 years ago. My first job was as one of the direct care staff in the apartment program. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I absolutely love what our agency does. I do hear a lot the same thing that Catherine is saying, that not a lot of people have heard of Ryze, surprisingly, because we do so much in the community in and around Saratoga Springs. And part of the reason for that is that the stigma around mental health and substance abuse. Those two things have been our primary focus for a long time. And the old school way of thinking about that was that we don't want to draw attention to what we're doing. We don't want to draw attention to the people we're serving, because there's so much misunderstanding about the reasons behind why someone might be in these circumstances. And, the stigma around it really has kept us quiet, but things are changing these days. There's much more emphasis on mental health. There's much more understanding and awareness of addictions and how that can happen to anyone. And I think that, the pandemic has been an interesting time for Ryze in that way, because it has brought a lot of attention to those two issues, to mental health and the understanding that these things can happen to anyone, and they're not necessarily something to be ashamed about, and that there is help available. So agencies like ours are trying to push ourselves forward a little more and get recognized so that people know where to come for help.
Yeah, I feel like the shift is coming in or at least my personal opinion of it is I feel like there's more shame with not getting help now, because there are so many services out there at your fingertips. Really, the resources are vast, especially in a community like Saratoga Springs. So I'm originally from New Orleans. I moved here 10 years ago. It's like night and day. So I think at this point, and I think the pandemic, like you said, has just exacerbated all of these issues for a lot of people, and it's a lot more mainstream than anyone has ever acknowledged before. And I think that the more people we have talking about their own experience, family members' experiences, or in business, any way we can talk more about it, it's helping. And even if it just helps one person, I think that's the other part of it. It's like one person being impacted by sobriety or getting the support they need in therapy or whatnot. It's helping the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And always challenge by choice, right? We are meeting people where they are. When you're ready for help, we're here.
Yes, I love that. So kind of bring us through, you said the origin of Ryze was to help with substance abuse and mental health and therapies, and so bring us, how did you get to housing, and explain that kind of path?
Mm-hmm. So our primary focus for the mental health and substance abuse piece is the housing. Our agency was created back in the 70s when there was that big movement to close all of the state psychiatric centers. We realized way too late that you can't just warehouse people who have mental health issues, and it's not healthy for anyone, and that people are actually very capable of living in the community if they have enough support wrapped around them. So when all that happened, money was reinvested into community supports rather than institutions, and agencies like Ryze came to be. There are agencies like ours in every county across New York State. And what we do is we provide a place to live for folks who have these issues. We have lots of different levels of care. We have transitional programs and we have permanent housing programs. So we go all the way from group homes, which people are probably very familiar with. You know, people can live together in a group, learn the skills that they need to become more independent, you know, teach them how to take care of themselves, not only just, you know, activities of like just your daily life, but also how to take care of yourself mentally, how to get to the doctor, how to make appointments, all of these things that a lot of times people don't learn the skills. So when they need to go out onto their own, they need someone to teach them those things. So that's what group homes sort of are. And then we have a whole continuum of services. We have apartment programs where there is more independence, but there are still people, Ryze employees, who go and see you and help you with medications or transportation or whatever you need. And our most independent level of care would be supportive housing, which is a similar situation, apartment living, but you can stay there forever and you get help paying your rent, and you have a staff member assigned to you who checks in with you as often as you need. And that could be once a month, it could be once a week, it could be once every 3 months. But we have a whole range of levels of care for folks on our mental health side. We're doing so much, like I can't even, I don't even know where to go from here, but we also have residential services for substance use. And people don't know this about Ryze, but we are the only residential substance use services in Saratoga County.
Okay, what does that exactly mean? Like, you got to dial it down for me, like dumb it down. What does that mean, residential services for substance abuse?
So when people think about substance use services, there's either, you know, in their mind, there's like you go to rehab, which is an inpatient, usually a hospital situation, or you are out in the community just going to like groups or seeing a therapist or treatment kinds of things. We're in the middle of that. We have a group home. People sometimes call them halfway houses, but I'm not in love with that term. So we have a group home in Boston Spa where people can go. They're coming out of rehab, but they're not ready to just be living on their own in the community. You know, brand new to sobriety, and they need a place to be where it's a sober environment. There's supports around you. You are, you know, going to treatment. You're getting your services, and that's what we provide. And that place is in Boston Spa.
Wow. So this is incredible. And you're the only one in Saratoga County?
Yes, we are.
So do you even have enough space?
Funny you should ask.
I mean, I feel like we need one in every city. Every downtown city needs a halfway. I mean, not a halfway house or a group home.
Yeah, no, so we don't have enough space, but we are in the process of building it. We have a grant from New York State, from the Office of Addiction Supports and Services, known as OASIS. And we're building another building on our property so that we can serve 20 more people from Saratoga County.
Wow.
And we're going to have not only the same kinds of community supports, but we're actually trying to add a couple of detox beds because there's no detox in Saratoga County either.
So you got to educate me on this. And yeah. I'm sorry that you have to do that because I should be more well-versed in this, but like a detox bed. So the alternative to a detox bed in a group home is going to the hospital.
Yes.
To rehab. Okay.
Yeah. So if detox is even a more intense level than rehab. It's that you are actively on a substance and you need to get it out of your system. Like before you can even go to rehab, because sometimes detoxing can be medically dangerous for people. So there really isn't anywhere specifically for that in Saratoga County either. So we're working on getting that set up in our on our property.
Once that is set up, you need, I'm sure there's no lack of people who want to help themselves, right? I mean, it's just like, so at this point, we really just don't even have the services to help the people who want to help themselves. Where do they go? They have to go to Albany? Like, where do they go?
Yeah, it's a huge gap in services right now. When anybody presents to any of our agencies, in the continuum in Saratoga, and we've got lots of really great community partners, it is a mad scramble to find an available bed somewhere in upstate New York.
Wow.
They always have to go out of county. So it's Schenectady, Amsterdam, Albany. I do believe there's a new program opening up north in Warren County. But, people specifically, from Saratoga County are not necessarily comfortable going to Albany, away from their families, away from their support systems, away from their communities. So this is a really huge need in Saratoga.
This is such an interesting thing because, we hear a lot of, I'm just going to be frank. Like, a lot of people will say, oh, we get all the Schenectady, trouble, or we get all the Albany trouble coming our way. And it's like, we're actually we're sending our trouble to them because we don't have the services to support them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it depends what kind of trouble you're talking about, but yes.
Yeah. So tell us, so you're in the process right now of building another facility on your property. This is in Bolson Spa, and how's that going? Like, what can we do to help you get the ball rolling? When are we breaking ground, or it's already broken? And how can people help you?
We have not broken ground yet. We're in the design process. So we hope to break ground in probably early summer, I would hope. At this point, we're really just going to be submitting our plans to the town of Ballston to get approved. So that's really, our next step that we have to accomplish is we have to submit our designs, the planning board has to approve it, and then, we can move forward. But I do have to say that the town of Ballston has been amazing to work with. We have another project in Ballston right now, and they've just been so supportive of everything that Ryze is doing.
That's awesome. Okay, so can you do another little education piece for me, differentiate the shelter from Ryze and how we're different? You mentioned earlier it's just another level of support, but largely, the idea you go to the shelter, you're there for a short amount of time. At Ryze, you could stay for as long as you need.
Yeah. So the shelter and Ryze are just two different levels of care, really. Shelters does emergency needs. So if someone needs a house over their head right away, shelters is there for them for that. And then Ryze is more of a referral-based agency. So if we know someone needs housing, they're referred through certain processes. And then they can get into our transitional housing, which is what I talked about before, where you can be there for a period of time, up to, years even, however long it takes you to get where you need to be physically and emotionally ready to live on your own. And then, we also have permanent housing options. So after that, if you're already ready and you don't need that intermediate step, we do have situations where you could just go into a permanent housing spot as well. So yeah, we're just two different levels.
And you do the mental health, the emotional support, even if you're not in one of these housing facilities?
It depends on the program, really. We do have a component to all of our programs where there is at least someone there to help you out. Now, for our independent programs, so for supportive housing, you don't have to engage in services. You are not required to do that. You and I talked briefly, just getting a roof over someone's head is the most important thing to Ryze. Mm-hmm. There are there's no prerequisites around that. You don't have to be employed. You don't have to have benefits. You don't have to be engaged in any sort of treatment for, our Housing First programs. We just want to get a roof over your head so that once that's taken care of, you can then focus on everything else you need to do to be well.
And I'm sure you've seen in your, vast experience, even just working with Ryze, is that once you do have a roof over your head, things open up for you, right? You're less stressed. You are supported. You're safe, and then you can start thinking about all these other things that you can tackle.
Yeah, housing is healthcare. It's step number one.
I love that.
Yes.
So there's another really exciting thing that Lindsay told me about over coffee, and it's the community outreach court. So like you gotta share what this is. I think it's brilliant. I'm like ecstatic that this is a thing. And there are times when you can just sit around and say like, okay, this system's broken and this isn't working and like this is a racket, or you can step in and you can facilitate change and change the world. Like you're literally changing the world. And did you take a play out of somebody else's playbook with this community outreach council, or is it something you guys just thought up? Tell me more about this.
Maybe saving our little corner.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about this is that Lindsay actually worked on this with Ryze when she was still a city employee. So we've been collaborating on this for quite a while. So Lindsay, do you want to talk about the community outreach court?
Sure. Yeah, it certainly, I would love to take credit for this. Like this was all my idea. It was not. I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel when somebody else has found something that works. So were originally called homeless courts, and they started out in California, but that kind of model has since been replicated in lots of different areas of the country. So we're just kind of adding our name to that list of areas in the country who are instituting this model. This was kind of born out of a few different folks at the city noticing the need for it. One of which being Judge Francine Vero over at the city court. She really was a driver behind this, so helpful with the Office of Court Services being able to do the scheduling and everything so that we could make this a reality. So we owe so many thanks to her for this actually coming to fruition. But her and also our police department really noticed that there was an issue with a lot of recidivism in our street homeless population for really minor offenses. So we're talking things like open container or public intoxication and that sort of thing. So normal crimes of street homelessness and poverty, right? So the idea is that we're providing the kind of supports needed to, number one, address the root of the problem so that the recidivism stops, get people what they need so that they're not committing the petty level crimes to begin with, but also providing them supports they need to be able to show up for their court appointments. As you were saying earlier offline, we're talking about a population, especially a street homeless population. Certainly our homeless population is much larger than that. This is a small sector that we're addressing here, but our street homeless population, you might not have an alarm clock to get you there. You don't have a planner. You're not, you're too worried about just making sure that you're fed and you're dry and you're warm. Court dates are not at the top of your priority list, and it makes a lot of sense. So our court outreach coordinators are able to provide the support needed to make sure that folks are getting to their court appointments, meeting what the court's requirements are resulting from those charges, and staying out of trouble thereafter. And we've really seen tons of success since we instituted this back in October 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how do you even regulate someone that is street homeless? Like, what does a fine even mean? What sort of parameters do you put around them to manage them? It's just your hands are kind of tied. You can find somebody all you want, but they don't have anything to pay it. They don't, so there's literally no resource there. So it's interesting how it is a kind of a challenge to solve here.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only is it, you're finding somebody who doesn't have money to pay it, but you're, putting them further in the hole. Now they've got something on the record. It makes it harder for them to get a job. It just really creates more of an issue and more of that kind of cyclical revolving door that we want to stop. Yeah. So the court is now providing more holistic kinds of requirements for those folks. So you need to get your health insurance in place before I see you again. You need to complete X number of hours of, rehabilitation services before then. That sort of kind of holistic requirements that are really helping address the core issue.
Mm. And what I really like about the homeless court is, Lindsay, you touched on this, is it's decriminalizing, poverty in this way, because you and I can have a drink. You and I can hang out with our friends and have a party, and, we're not going to get arrested for it. We're not going to get ticketed for it. But folks who don't have a home are constantly getting in trouble for things that if they had a roof over their heads, they would not be getting in trouble for.
I gotta share this story. We were driving past that, I don't even know what street that is, between the parking garage downtown and Stewarts and the Salvation Army's right there. We were driving past, and they were having a great time. I don't know if they were celebrating New Year's or whatever it was. They were having a great time drinking, partying, and they weren't like stabbing each other. Like, again, I'm from New Orleans. Like, those are the types of things that happen. It's like violent crimes that happen down there. They were just having a good time socializing. And the person I was in the car with said, "Oh my God, when are they going to solve this? Like, what are they doing? Like, they should all be arrested." I'm like, listen, we were just partying like a couple of nights ago, but we were inside of a restaurant, which they're not welcome to come into, and we were at our homes. Like, so you gotta, that's where they live. That's where they are. And something that Lindsay said to me when we were meeting for coffee is just like, we don't have any places for people to just be. You know, they have no roof over the head. They have no place to just be, period. So it's like really just changing the perspective of people who don't even realize that this is literally the only place that they have to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we love that, you know, Judge Vero, when these folks come before her, she will assign them, like Lindsay said, to get engaged in mental health treatment, or, you know, work with a housing coordinator to find an apartment, or get your benefits in order. So just addressing the underlying problem so this stops. And we've seen so much success with people getting into treatment or getting into at least a shelter, you know, like somewhere temporarily while they wait for housing. And that is certainly the next challenge, is the lack of housing available for folks who don't have a lot of money in Saratoga. So
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even have a place to stay in Saratoga Springs. I mean, it's just it's you know, we're just in that position right now. Our community is growing that fast, and people are getting priced out, and if we don't do something about it, it'll be a huge problem. We'll have like this huge gap, right? We'll have nothing but people on the streets and people in like really beautiful condos.
Yeah, we're working on that piece too.
So, and then there's another expansion that you recently did into the local school district. So tell us more about that, because you know that the children obviously are affected by this too. We just don't see as many, I guess, in downtown Saratoga, but they're in the shadows, right?
Right. So another big piece of our agency is called care management. We primarily do housing, as we discussed, but another big program we have, actually our largest program, is called care management. And that's for folks who have mental health concerns, including children, adults and children. They don't necessarily live under our roofs. They live out in the community in their own homes with their own families, but they need help coordinating services. They need help getting the benefits they're entitled to. They need help getting into mental health treatment. They need help getting to the doctor or the dentist or whatever the case may be. Or their parents need help finding respite services for them because they're overwhelmed, or, you know, whatever the family needs. We have a large team of care managers who go out into the community and hook everybody up with the services they need. And one of the best ways that we've found to get in touch with people is through the schools. That's where all the kids are. That's how we can access, you know, the parents. And so we have been expanding rapidly. We've been reaching out to the schools in like 5 surrounding counties, and they all are like, yes, please come help us. There are so many kids who could use your services. So we've really been working closely with the schools in Saratoga County, now in Warren and Washington and Montgomery County and Fulton County. And we have satellite offices in a couple of those schools or near a couple of those schools, so that we can send staff there and have them be there to work with these children and families.
Wow. And when you say services, these are like, kind of like go further into depth about what services these are. Because I think, you know, some people, again, just, I don't want to say some people, but parents may not think that they are entitled to services. And they are, you know, it's like one of those biggest things. I was just having another conversation. I was, you know, home for the holidays, and I was talking to a friend, and, you know, and I'm like, no, there's like all of these things that you can get tested. Your kid can get tested. You can go through this. You can go through all these things. And these are the services that are provided to you because you are, you know, a citizen of the community, you know, so take advantage of all that stuff, you know, like get on the phone and get all that free, you know, it is free stuff. It's social services. And, you know, you don't have to be physically disabled or mentally, like largely mentally impaired to take advantage of the services that we have in our backyards.
Absolutely. In our case, we do work with people who have a mental health diagnosis. In children's case, an emotional disturbance diagnosis for this particular program. But yeah, it doesn't cost the parents anything. If the parents have Medicaid, we bill Medicaid for some of these services, and that's how we get reimbursed for what we're doing. But if you don't have Medicaid or you don't qualify for Medicaid, then you're still eligible for these services. If you have a child who is struggling with mental health concerns or behavioral concerns or really having difficulty in school, we can come in and help to at least coordinate figuring out what it is you need. We'll come in and we'll do an assessment and we'll figure out, does this child need testing of some sort? Do they need to engage with mental health? Do they need to get on medication? And we'll hook them up with a doctor. Is there a problem in the family that needs much more attention? Like we can, figure that out. We can help the parents and get them what they need. So there are a lot of services available that I know that they're not as widely known as they should be.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, like, what parent in this day and age, in the life that we're living, doesn't need support? I mean, aren't we all struggling right now? I mean, the world is just crazy, and this. Like our kids are, I am definitely concerned for our children and how they're being impacted by the pandemic. I mean, I just feel like the services you provide are so just important to take advantage of, and the people that you provide the service for, I just feel has like multiplied, because if people didn't think that they were struggling before, the pandemic certainly shed a light on at how everyone is just having a time right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of supports for our kids, I am going to go support my kid right now and see the doctor.
Well, I'm not going to keep, Lindsay, you got to run. I'm so happy to see you, and so happy to see like that you're working with Ryze now. I'm thrilled to see all the amazing things that you continue to do. And I'll kick you out.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of your conversation later. You guys have a great one.
Yes, thanks.
Right,
so Sybil, I just wanted to touch on a couple of other exciting things that you guys are kind of rolling out. First, your team is growing. Are you hiring right now? So if anybody's interested or any of these nuggets of wisdom that you're dropping on us and ways to get involved, they could actually join your team.
Yes, definitely. We're always hiring. I mean, a lot of our positions are perfect for people, just getting into the workforce, just getting into school, or getting out of school. Our direct care positions, we have openings always because, they're kind of a stepping stone for people. You come in for the most part, you learn a bunch of stuff, you work for a couple of years with us, and then, you move up or you move on. So we're always hiring for those positions. So if you love to work with people and you love to just kind of go with the flow and are a hands-on kind of person, those are great. The agency is really growing. As I mentioned, we have a couple of programs that, we're building. We are actually building 2 housing developments. So we're in the process. One of them has already broken ground in Boston Spa. It's going to be a 60-unit apartment building. So as I mentioned before, the affordable housing that we really desperately need in this community, we decided to build it. So we're building that, and when that is up and running, we will need staff for that. So there's always growth and there's always opportunities at Ryze. One I would like to particularly point out, we are looking for 2 positions in our administrative team. One is a development coordinator. Because we're growing so quickly and because we're trying to bring so much attention to ourselves, we need to bring in someone to help us organize all of that in terms of getting the word out to the community and fundraising and events and those sorts of things. So if you are interested in development, social media, anything like that.
Oh, cool. I love that. I'm sure. I mean, and where is your office located? Are you guys all remote? I mean, I know Lindsay was at home just now.
I mean, we're doing remote right now for the most part, but our main office is on Union Street in Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
It's it's just off South Broadway, kind of by the mental health clinic, if anyone knows where that is.
Yep. Awesome. So development positions, and there was another one you said that was.
Yes, we are looking for an accounting manager to work in our finance department. Our amazing accounting manager is trying to retire for like the third time. We won't let her retire, but she's trying really hard. So we have a great opportunity for someone who's an accountant or, is really into finance.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you would like to get the word out about? I mean, I wanted to tell you, so I met with Lindsay, I don't know when it was, like weeks ago before Christmas. And then I saw in Lifestyles, they were doing gift wrap, and I saw like the Ryze logo inside. And so I'm like, oh my God, so Ryze is, I don't know. I'm a creature, I guess, of my own little bubble that I've created around myself, and I just didn't even realize that Ryze was a service in our community. And now that I do know, I want to shout it from the rooftops. And I'm sure you hear this. I've heard it too, right? Where it's like, oh, I've never heard about Palette. It's like, how do you not know about Palette? I feel like we're all over the place, and we work our tails off to get the word out, So how can people support you? How can people get more involved in what you're doing? Do you have volunteer positions or opportunities for people or fundraising events coming up?
So that's part of why we're trying to find a development coordinator, because we do have some events coming up later in 2022. I don't want to shout those out yet, but I totally feel what you're saying. I feel like I'm out there all the time talking about Ryze and telling people what we do and trying to get the word out. And then every time I turn around, there's someone else who's like, I have never heard at all of you guys. Volunteer opportunities are challenging because of the confidentiality aspect involved in a lot of what we do. Because we do provide services for folks who have mental health concerns or addictions, and that's private health information, So right now we don't have a lot of volunteer opportunities, but as the year goes on and as we are continuing to push ourselves out there, we are going to be doing some events, and we're going to need help in the spring. I think we always need help, with our properties and making things beautiful and those sorts of things. So our website is, we will keep that up to date with information about Ryze and any opportunities there are. We really just wrapped up a couple of fundraisers, like you said, the one at Lifestyles, we just wrapped up. That was amazing. Heidi Owen West was just fabulous in bringing her staff together and helping us out. We just wrapped up a fundraiser with the Hilton. They did a virtual Santa call and a donation to Ryze. You have your kids talk to Santa. So we just wrapped that one up. So I mean, we're kind of at the end of a cycle of fundraising right now, but we're going to be getting back out there with some more things, and we will be pushing them out on social media. So following us on our social media is the best way to keep on top of what we're up to.
Okay. And again, anytime you want to come on a Palette program, we have tons of, we have a program called Get Your Mind Right. We have Writers Club. I mean, we have so many different organizations within Palette that I know would love to support you. So just
Awesome.
Pick up the phone and give us a call, and we're happy to support you any way we can. And it's been a pleasure just to meet you for the first time. I mean, what a powerhouse you are. I think Ryze is so grateful, so lucky to have you on their staff. And I'm excited to collaborate and partner with you on other initiatives to just change our community for the better. And maybe somebody will be taking a play out of our playbooks, and how to better their communities too.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you inviting me on your show. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the Ryze staff, because that's something I did want to share, is just how amazing the folks are who work at Ryze, because most of our programs are 24-hour staffed programs. We never close. And during the pandemic, people were just pushing through it. They were showing up to work, they're masking, they're cleaning endlessly. They're here to help people. And they're just so dedicated to helping the people we serve and making this community a better place for everybody. So I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody, because they're doing such an amazing job right now.
Yeah, well, it's a testament to you too. It's no one at this in the state of the world that we're in, no one has to actually work for anybody that they don't want to work for. So luckily for them, they have a great leader, and you are empowering them to, take the ball and run with it. I mean, I literally didn't speak to you until today. They all set this all up, and I think it's a testament to the team that you've created around you, and it's amazing. You're definitely doing not just doing your job, but you're empowering your staff to do their job like to the best of their abilities. And what a great squad you got. So if anybody wants to join the team, now is the time to send your resume.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a development position is like really exciting. I was actually just talking to Marcella, my like right hand person, Marcella. She's like, how do we just clone ourselves to do these other jobs that are so cool? And I'm like, don't even think about that. You can't be cloned and you can't go anywhere because they can't do this without her.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is not poaching from like the people that are great. You're like, okay, I can't take somebody from that agency because they need them really badly too. So
I know. Well, and again, with like the type of the level of work that you're doing, and there's just so many helpers out there, and we live in a really amazing community. I mean, the services we have in all the different directions, it's like it is here for the taking, and we don't have any, there's really nothing holding people back except for themselves, and being able to pick up the phone and reach out to the people that are out there to support them. And so I implore anybody, if anybody is like struggling in any capacity, which is like everyone, like myself included, pick up the phone, reach out. There are services out there. There are people out there to help you. And we live in a really amazing and resourceful community.
And very generous community. Absolutely. Extremely generous. So thank you for helping us get the word out.
Absolutely. I'm not going to shut up about Ryze. And now you're stuck with me talking about you.
Great. Well,
All right. Well, have a good rest of your day. Happy Friday. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.